For me, it was Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if I had a thesaurus here in front of me and I read every possible adjective to describe how bad and disheartening and demoralizing that loss was, I still wouldn't do it justice. Oklahoma State is a really good football team.
So we thought.
I mean, certainly offensively, and we talked a little bit when we were previewing this game. I mean, defensively, they've got their laps, but the matchup seemed pretty good. That they had a chance at keeping it, but they were just never even in this game. It literally, the analogy that I would use is that when we were kids, we had that little electric football thing, and you always had, after a while, the little things on the bottom that would vibrate that would cause them to move. They would
Mhm.
get bent or torn or broken. So now suddenly, like your quarterback would just only go in circles, or your running back, I mean, you couldn't get your guy no matter what you did because you had just played so many games that worn it down. It was an electric football game, and that quarterback was just going round and round and round. And in the offensive guards where it was like a hoedown. They were hooking arms and they were cowboys. They were not doing that cowboy line dance kind of stuff. It was just awful.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this team. We were talking about it during our preview. This was one of our Saturday six packs. We said we're not sure if we're going to see Adrian Martinez, and we did not see them. And we thought that was going to be an absolute X factor for this football game because of how amazing Adrian Martinez is. That hasn't changed. That conversation has not changed. Adrian Martinez is still a great quarterback. But let's talk about the junior from Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Okay, let's talk about Will Howard. How amazing he looked in that football game. He went for almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. No one saw that coming. If you told me you had on your bingo card that Kansas State would beat Oklahoma State by 48-0, if it would have been another one of those games, just like the Texas-Oklahoma game, Oklahoma State, I know that your rival is the Sooners, but you don't have to match them completely to be shut out by almost, to the point. I know 49-0 Texas, 48-0 Oklahoma State. I guess he's still got a little bit of bragging rights on them, but come on now. This game was absolutely. I mean, I watched the condensed game. I watched the replay, and it was just a human highlight reel from Will Howard and Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn went completely lights out, averaged over 7 yards per carry, 158 yards on the ground. Oklahoma State just couldn't get it going. Spencer Sanders had a tough time. He threw a pick. They had 3 turnovers. The offense didn't get it going either for the Pokes. There was a really tough time for this team. I'm nervous for what Oklahoma State is going to look like for the rest of the year. This was a team where many, myself included in this conversation, believed Oklahoma State could be in the running at the beginning of the year to win this Big 12 championship.
Yes.
After watching them against Kansas State this week, I don't think that they're even in the contention to even be in the game. I think that Kansas State has really changed that entire narrative. Right now, I see it as TCU Kansas State for the Big 12 championship, and I think that would be a fantastic game. Especially if we see this Kansas State team show up like that, we might have a 2-loss champion in the Big 12. That's how wild it could be. Kansas State, I could see them winning out and finding a way to beat TCU, especially if they play like this. I really do. Kansas State has a tough schedule coming ahead. They do play Texas next week. That's a great game. Texas has figured it out, right? We've said the same thing about TCU. We see TCU in Texas in 2 weeks. Kansas State gets them first. We're about to see, this is like when we get into the nitty gritty with the Big 12 here, the deepest conference in all of college football. Texas versus Kansas State's really going to show, in my mind, if Kansas State's for real. I mean, we've already kind of seen it. We saw TCU already beat Kansas State by 10 a couple weeks ago, but that was still a good football game.
Yes.
I think the adjustments have been made. They just showed and proved against Oklahoma State. If they meet again in the Big 12 championship, could be a different result.